So I took a little bit of a step back on this. I wasn't happy with the way that these fins were lining up. They weren't fitting right. There was a gap, and it didn't look very clean. So I got to the point where, as I'm sure all of you guys have, where you're like, well, I can accept this, or I can move on, or I can fix it. I couldn't. I couldn't. It just didn't look right. So I took those fins off. Obviously, there was glue where I had put them, so I had sand. I had to sand down all the area where the glue was and get rid of all that. And I'm going to repaint these areas right here, which is not a big deal. And then I'm going to sand down the fins so they fit perfectly, and or a lot better than they did. This whole area here and here needs to be sanded down evenly. So when I paint over it to fix the issues that are going on, everything looks even. So what I have here, this is like a 220 grit. I use these things a lot. These things are some pads I get. They buy them online somewhere, but I get them from a guy locally, and you can cut them. So now I have a little pad here, and I'm just going to go over this thing. Issues here and there. So I'll have to keep going over this to make sure everything's even, and then paint over it. Alright, so I got my engine caps in here. I got my lenses in. So I'm working on weathering the whole engine section. Obviously, all the engines are mounted, and I'm just trying to make sure everything lines up right before I actually glue these in. And I'm going to go over this again. You'll see a lot of, different weathering stuff going on here, light and dark. But then I'll coat it over again with a mist of something, probably like an off, like a grayish white sort of color, just to blend everything together. So there's a combination of stuff I'm doing here. There's some streaking, a lot of weathering that's dripping down from the top, going down. So what I'm using here is a combination of some Tamiya Weathering Master. This is soot, snow, and rust. And the soot, it works pretty good. It's really dark, so you kind of have to be careful with it. So what I'm going to do here is I have a streak there. I'm going to use some Windex, but I'm going to use that, and you can see it's going to spread out the Weathering Master and make it, look like it's aged. That looks pretty good. Because this thing is really beat up. I'm looking at pictures right now. So there's also some more pronounced streaks going on here. Where's my other brush? Here we go. I'm using a very thin brush. I'm going to put some mineral spirits on there, and I'm going to put some enamel, which is basically the same stuff I was using before, which is the SP Lark Dark. I'm going to put some in here, these areas, just kind of so there's some subtle weathering behind it, And then I'm going to put the brush in the thinner and just let it drip. I'm just putting, you know, mineral spirits on the brush, and I'm letting gravity do all the work. So here's the other side. Not really sure if you can see that. Hopefully you can see it. So I did the same thing with the Weathering Master and the Windex and then the other enamel paint to get all this kind of weathering going on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this stuff again, this foundation, because I'm seeing it in the pictures. But I'm going to, same thing, I'm going to use thinner. I'm going to put it on really, really thin. Looks like it's all on here. And then down here. So I'm just kind of putting this stuff on here. And then I am taking, same thing, mineral spirits, kind of washing all that paint off the brush, and then I'm going to go over this and really just dilute it. So that's what I have going on right now. I'm just going to keep going over this thing and, you know, keep weathering it. There is a lot going on in this thing. Also, the, let's see if I can find something to point to this. These little markings here, I don't know if you can see them. They're like dashes. They're all hand drawn. They're on almost every Star Wars ship, but they're always almost always coated with paint. So you'll see them on. There's another one I have to put on here. What I use is a little Sharpie for that. And you put them on. You have to kind of hunt around in these reference photos to see exactly where they are. There's one there. Set this one underneath. Small. So those will get painted over, but you can see them. And in the photos, you can see like they actually put them on, but then they went over them with paint, so they're not completely black. And also, it looks like there's some orange in here, which I have to add. It looks like there's an orange, a layer of orange in some of these spots, which is not just red. It's like there's like an orange color over that, so I'm gonna have to add that too. But that's what I have going on right now. So here's where I am right now. I am kind of threw all the guns on in the radar dish just to kind of see where I'm at and get an idea of how this thing's looking overall. It's looking good. I got this part on here. I painted this red stripe on both sides and put this piece on. I need to touch up some pieces here and repaint. I did get my fin straightened out, so I'm pretty happy with the redo of those. It took a little while, but I still have to put a piece in here that's the centerpiece that goes in and covers this. And they're fitting much better now. I had to take them off, I had to sand them, repaint them, kind of sand each one to kind of get it to fit better. And I think it's looking a lot better than it did. I just couldn't live with the way it was. So last time I showed, a few minutes ago, I showed the weathering process. It looks really dirty right now. So I'm going to, you know, kind of mist over that and make it more subtle. But you'll see a lot of the dirt and grime and stuff on it. I have some touch-up work to do on here, and I'm working on more panels. There's a lot of panels on this thing that I didn't even see before, so I'm painting all of those. I did some weathering on the back of this. And that'll be toned down. This, I'm kind of working my way back, so where I am right now is probably like right here, and I'm kind of just going backwards and, you know, weathering as I go, so it all looks the same, it looks uniform. Alright, one more thing. I put on some side pieces here. So this wing right here, there are some pieces that go on where it joins the body that are not included with the kit, but I had to make them myself. So there's a pipe here. There's a square piece of styrene here that's red. This piece is red, obviously, and then this piece here. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces on this side that kind of go along the seam of this part right here. On the other side, on the starboard side, there's 3 pieces that need to be added. There's a pipe that goes along here and then kind of angles up and then down. Then there's another piece here, which is a red piece, which is kind of like a flat piece that goes along this actual bulkhead, and then there's another white piece that goes here. So I think that's about it. I think everything else is I think I have all those side parts covered. I haven't seen anything else. It's kind of hard to get some good shots of exactly the way those parts look, but I think I'm pretty close. So that's where I'll stop now. I'm gonna actually continue weathering this thing, and then I'll come back when I have the rest of the aft section done, kind of the back, and then I'll show how I mount the engines. And then after that, all I got to do is the cockpit, which I've been saving for the fun part, which is like the last. See ya.